Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series for international economics. And in this particular lecture, or this particular video, we're talking about week 15 is when the optional final occurs. 2 attempts are allowed with the highest score counting. Realize that this is incorporated into your test scores. So this is now your 4 tests will count for the 45% of your tests. So make sure that you understand this, and also make sure you realize that the only way you're really going to improve your grade is if you do better on the optional final than you did on the average of your 3 previous test scores. So make sure that you're aware of that. Also be aware that this is a true final. It is cumulative. Here you can see that every single chapter is represented, so it is a cumulative final exam, and there are going to be 139 questions on this cumulative final exam. Here you can see the distribution of where the questions come from amongst the chapters. So I just wanted to give you some idea of which chapters are a little lighter compared to the other ones. Here in red you can see the ones that are less represented. So chapter 1 and chapter 2, chapters 11, 12, and 13, and chapters 16, 19, and 20 have fewer questions on average than the other chapters. So be aware of that. The chapters that have higher than average representation on the optional final is chapters 3 and 4, chapter 6, chapters 8 and 9. So you should be aware of this so you can prepare yourself for the optional final exam. So make sure you're aware of that. Also remember that if you're planning on taking this, you've already seen that your provisional grades are posted. I believe that they were supposed to be posted on 12/12, so you will receive a letter grade. This will be in the Postum section of Sakai. I believe that is correct, the Postum section. So you can see what your provisional grade is. Remember, if you're happy with your provisional grade, there is no need for you to take the optional final exam. If you decide not to take the optional final exam, your provisional grade becomes your grade for the course. If you were unsatisfied with your grade going into the optional final, then you can take the optional final exam in order to have an attempt to increase your score, your letter grade. Realize that there is risk, and this is a risk-reward situation. You're not guaranteed of improving your grade, and it is possible for you to actually lower your provisional grade. Lower your grade for the course relative to the provisional grade. All right, so for example, if you do worse on the optional final than you did on your average of the 3 tests, the module tests from the semester, it is possible for you to get a lower grade for the course. So be aware of that. You can be rewarded by improving your grade, but it's also possible for you to actually lower your grade, letter grade for the course. So make sure that you're aware of that. Also, be aware that once you start taking this, you can't change your mind. All right? So if you're taking the optional final and you opt to take this, you are taking it. There's no changing your mind in the middle. All right? So be aware of that. There's going to be no exceptions made to this. That if you decide to take it and you start taking it, your grade is going to count towards your grade for the course. All right. I've had situations in the past where people take it and go, "Oh, I changed my mind. I really didn't want to take it." You have to decide that ahead of time. You're accepting that risk when you opt to take the optional final exam. Well, if you're taking the optional final exam, you're uncomfortable with your grade to this point. So I'll put provisional grade here. So you are not satisfied with that score. So I would recommend the following strategy. Go back and make sure you take a look at, were there any particular chapters that you had difficulty with, or there were 2 or 3 or 4 chapters that really gave you a hard time during the semester. Work the study plan for those particular chapters prior to your first attempt. Use that as your method of studying and improving your knowledge of the material in the course. And then after you've worked through the study plan for those chapters, make an attempt on the actual provisional exam. After that attempt, review your optional final. Use the drop-down The question help drop-down menu for the questions you got incorrect. Hopefully improve your knowledge and get a better understanding of the concepts that are necessary for answering those questions. Also, if it's a problem where there are multiple steps, that help me solve this option that's available is very good for walking you through step by step each of the individual components of what you need to do in order to answer that question. Okay? And then after you've done that, make a note again of any pattern on your first attempt on the optional final exam. Were there any chapters or sections within chapters that gave you difficulty? And then work the study plan for that chapter or sections within chapters that were particularly problematic for you on your first attempt on the optional final. And then after that, retake the optional final.